The Terminator franchise is still up in the air, but if Terminator 7 is going to bring it back to life, it's time to move on from Arnold Schwarzenegger. Luckily, the ideal successor will be sharing the screen with the Austrian action icon in 2025, but that's just the beginning. James Cameron's next Terminator film will have to tackle something the franchise has been dodging for the past 40 years. So, let's break down everything we know about Terminator 7 and what's in store. Despite a veritable rat's nest of timeline chaos, Schwarzenegger has appeared in all 6 Terminator movies in some capacity, whether it made narrative sense to include him or not. After 2019's Terminator, Dark Fate failed spectacularly at the box office. Despite decent reviews, the franchise was essentially put on ice. However, hope was rekindled in 2024 when news spread that James Cameron, director of the first 2 Terminator movies, was working on a secretive Terminator project believed to be the script for Terminator 7. With the franchise back in Cameron's hands, there's plenty of reason for optimism, but as of now, the next sequel hasn't yet been greenlit or officially announced. With Cameron's attention largely dedicated to the Avatar franchise, it will likely be quite some time before a sequel moves forward. But if it does, the franchise needs to move on from its most recognizable star. Cameron has already shared his vision for Terminator's future, and one of the key points he emphasized was the need to depart from everything that audiences know, including familiar visuals and characters. Instead of the typical killer robots from the future, Cameron sees potential in exploring modern AI threats, making the story more relevant for today's audience. At this point, 6 films deep into the franchise, the nostalgia that once fueled interest in the iconic movies of the 1980s and 90s has been wrung dry. Unfortunately, the most significant iconography that needs to be left behind is the franchise's reliance on Schwarzenegger. Later entries in the series have shoehorned him in, even when doing so muddied the timeline and distracted from potentially fresh and engaging new storylines. The Terminator franchise has been stuck in a cycle of repeating the same beats, largely because it refuses to fully move on from Schwarzenegger's T-800 and the Connor family. If Terminator 7 is to serve as a proper reboot, Schwarzenegger's presence has to finally come to an end. This leaves a major question. Who could replace Schwarzenegger? The franchise desperately needs a new lead, someone who could be a unifying presence across multiple entries. Enter Alan Ritchson. The Reacher star, known for his intimidating physique, stoic demeanor, and action chops, would make a fitting successor to Schwarzenegger. While it's not necessary for Ritchson to play a character identical to the T-800, having him embody a similarly droll robotic persona could make the transition seamless. Ritchson has already proven his ability to command the screen with his action-heavy roles, and he even has an upcoming project with Schwarzenegger himself, Amazon MGM Studios, The Man with the Bag, where Schwarzenegger plays Santa Claus and Ritchson plays a thief enlisted to help recover Santa's stolen magical bag. While that's a far cry from Terminator's serious tone, seeing them side by side might help sell audiences on the idea of Ritchson stepping into Schwarzenegger's shoes. Even with a fresh lead in Cameron's involvement, however, Terminator 7 would face an uphill battle. The franchise is at an all-time low in terms of audience interest. Terminator: Dark Fate attempted to clean up the timeline by erasing all movies after Terminator 2, Judgment Day, and while critics were mostly positive about the film, audiences simply didn't care. The result was one of the biggest box office flops in movie history. For Terminator 7 to succeed, it would need to accomplish 2 difficult tasks: regain the interest of longtime fans who have been burned by multiple disappointing sequels, and bring in a new generation of viewers who have no nostalgic attachment to the franchise. If anyone can do it, it's James Cameron. But it may be best to let the series rest for a while before attempting another reboot. With enough time away from the spotlight, the Terminator brand could have a chance to truly reinvent itself, leaving behind Schwarzenegger and the Connor storyline for good. This change is inevitable, especially considering that Schwarzenegger himself has confirmed he's done with the franchise. In an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, he stated, "The franchise is not done. I'm done." Dark Fate served as a fitting farewell for the T-800, allowing Schwarzenegger's character to bow out in a way that made sense within the story. Now the challenge is finding a way to keep Terminator relevant without its most recognizable star. Replacing Arnold is no easy feat, but the Terminator franchise has already introduced powerful new models, proving it can evolve. The T-1000 in Judgment Day and Dark Fate's Rev. 9 showcased innovative designs, hinting at the potential for fresh antagonists rather than relying on nostalgia. Terminator 7 should embrace this creativity. Schwarzenegger has been a constant presence, even when unavailable. In Salvation, his political career prevented an appearance, but a CGI version of his face was used over bodybuilder Roland kicking. This hinted at the series preparing for his replacement, though it wasn't quite ready to commit. Now, Terminator must evolve. Dark Fate served as a solid farewell, but the franchise needs a new lead, perhaps Alan Ritchson or another rising action star to carry it forward. By embracing modern AI-driven storytelling and finding a worthy successor, Terminator 7 has a chance to revive the franchise. Otherwise, it risks fading into obscurity. On the flip side, as James Cameron continues work on the next installment in the franchise, Andre Holland is weighing in on reprising his Terminator Zero role in live action. The acclaimed star made his franchise debut in the Netflix anime series as Malcolm Lee, a scientist racing to perfect an artificial intelligence capable of rivaling Skynet and preventing Judgment Day. Developed by the Batman's Mattson Tomlin, Terminator Zero was met with rave reviews from critics and audiences, leaving plenty of room for future stories. During an interview with Screen Rant at the Sundance Film Festival premiere of his new movie Love of Brooklyn, Holland was asked about the possibility of returning as Malcolm in a live-action Terminator project. He enthusiastically recalled his final recording session for the anime, expressing his hope to play the role again. "Man, listen, I had so much fun doing that. And when we finished, I remember the day we finished, we walked out the door, and I said to them, if you guys do this, please call me because I would love to do it. It was so much fun." Holland's comments naturally sparked speculation about his future in the franchise, though some timeline adjustments will be necessary. Throughout Terminator Zero, the AI Coco and others question how Malcolm possesses such extensive knowledge of Skynet and humanity's fate. Episode 7 eventually reveals that Malcolm is actually from the future, having traveled back in time to stop Skynet, while also hoping to reunite with his robotic creation. His efforts initially succeed, but by the finale, Malcolm sacrifices himself to save resistance soldier E, leaving the world at the mercy of both Skynet and Coco. However, Terminator is no stranger to bringing characters back, thanks largely to its time travel mechanics. As the anime establishes, each instance of time travel creates a new timeline, making it entirely possible for the next Terminator film to exist in a reality where Malcolm is still alive and still developing Coco. Given that Terminator Zero already operates within multiple timelines that don't directly connect to the films, there's narrative flexibility to make this work. Another option for Holland's return could be if Terminator 7 takes place in the post-apocalyptic future. Cameron has suggested that the next movie will move away from the distinct iconography of past films while still exploring the franchise's core themes. This shift could mean stepping away from the well-worn Connor family saga and instead refocusing on a fresh perspective, potentially with Malcolm at the center. Personally, I think bringing back Holland as Malcolm would inject much-needed originality and gravitas into the franchise. Much like how Star Wars became overly fixated on the Skywalker lineage, Terminator has long revolved around the Connors. Terminator Zero proved there's room for new characters and stories, and Holland's Malcolm could be a compelling way to usher in that evolution. And that's all we know about the upcoming movie. Thanks for watching, and if something new comes out, then you'll know it. We will keep you updated. Until then, if you just give us a thumbs up and click the subscribe button, we would appreciate it even more. We'll see you in the next one.